Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I don't know if it's the change of season, the year pretty much coming to an end. You hear this a lot from people that I just feel stuck. Like I'm just not moving forward, feel out of place, out of sorts. What does that mean, being stuck in life? We're going to learn more about that and get some insight from a certified mental health coach. She's also a Christian life coach and so much more. She's amazing, and she's back with us. Cheryl Hines joins us. Hi, Cheryl. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. So good to have you back here. And when we say stuck, I think we all have a different definition of what that is. What do you take away from that? What do you hear a lot of times when you work with people?
So stuck, like you said, Steve, is a big topic. We can be stuck in choices of jobs. We can feel like we're stuck in a career. We can feel like we're stuck in a situation that we want to get out of. My take is slanted towards more of an addiction, and we get stuck in that. For me, it wasn't that I was stuck in an addiction, but I was stuck in what I was feeling, what I was thinking, how I was processing, and learning how to get unstuck for me was so important. So it's a big topic of what are you feeling stuck in? Some people feel stuck in a marriage, and I'm not an advocate for leaving a marriage, but I'm an advocate of learning how to get unstuck in your relationship so that you can know how to love again, so you can know how to love that individual, so you can know how to move forward in that marriage. So it's a big topic of being stuck. The analogy that I used was just of Friday was, have you ever been stuck in snow or ever been stuck in mud? And you rub the engine and you spin the tires and you just spin and you can't get out. And you need somebody most times to either pull you out or to push you out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same way with us individually as human beings. We need somebody to come alongside us sometimes and to help us unpack how to get unstuck. And the good news is there's always a way to get unstuck. We just need to know how to do that. And I guess that's where I come along as a Christian life coach, is helping to listen and just listening to somebody well, where are you at? What's happening? Well, why are you thinking that way? Why are you feeling that way? And just asking questions when they answer or when they share, and it's in that they get unstuck. So it's a big topic.
Really is. I firmly agree with you when it comes to marriage. Short of there's some major abuse going on, factor that to the side. That you're there for a reason, so you should make it work. So we'll move past that. But when we talk about being stuck, the first thing that comes into my mind is change. To get unstuck, there's got to be change. Even if you're stuck in mud, you're stuck in snow, what's the change going to be? You're coming out of it and moving over to here, whether somebody's pulling you or whatever it might be. Do you think a lot of times that it is a fear of change? Because something's got to change for you to get unstuck.
Yes, definitely. It's a fear of the unknown. We get comfortable in where we're at and what we're doing. And so, somebody comes along inside us and says, well, why don't you do this? Well, but I'm comfortable here. I'm comfortable sitting in this chair and I'm not going to move. Even though I'm stuck in this chair, I'm not going to move. And so it's that fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, the fear of attempting something else, and then that attempting is not going to work. So it's fear. That's a huge factor, I believe.
How do we get past that fear? Because it's there. Fear of change is probably one of the biggest reasons for being stuck, biggest reason for people not making even changes in their life. Are there ways that we can get past that? Obviously, to have a Christian life coach is going to help you by leaps and bounds, but even on the small scale, moving slowly to get out of that. Any thoughts, any suggestions?
How do we get beyond that? Yes.
Yeah.
You have to start thinking outside the box of where you are. Rick Warren has this saying that the thoughts determine the way we feel, and the way we feel it determine the way we act. And so if we're thinking, I can't get beyond this, well, then you can't. So making that conscious choice, first of all, realizing that I am stuck, getting out, part of the 12 steps is getting out of that denial and walking into accepting the fact that you're stuck. So it's first acknowledging that you're stuck. If you don't acknowledge it, then you will always be stuck. How do you get to that point? Just really contemplating where you are, thinking about where you are, and talking to other people, and just surrounding yourself by safe people that are going to be able to speak life into your hope into your life, and then taking some of their advice and moving forward.
What
huge.
you just said is powerful as well, where when you mentioned Rick Warren about our thoughts become our actions. So, you even talk about positive affirmation. If you're stuck in something, start looking at it. If you were to move out of it, what it would be like, visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say changing jobs, while you're unhappy at work all day, change it up and say, what would it be like what would it feel like if I were doing this other job, which I really feel I can do. I have the passion for it. I know somebody that can connect me here. What would that feel like internally? What a difference that probably would be within your mind as you start, living that life that you want to live.
Yeah, absolutely. It's stepping outside of that box, and stepping into a new mindset. We had talked last week about a mindset, stepping into a different thought pattern, making a different choice. Looking at the glass half full, not half empty, and then saying, okay, what do I want out of life? I have a young lady I work with right now, and in one of her goals, or one of her chores, is her homework, not goals or chores. Her homework is to dream. If you lived in a perfect world, what would it look like? Dream outside the box of where you are currently. It doesn't hurt to dream, but what hurts is then when you get stuck in that dream, and you start getting depressed because you're focusing only on being stuck in the dream and not moving forward.
Yeah.
It's all about the perspective. It's all about what you think. It's all about how you feel, which is then how you're going to act. So it's huge. It's huge. It's just
it's part of life too. Because you're never going to always be happy 24/7, 365 your entire life. I want to meet somebody who's like that. I mean, everything is, I don't think they exist. You've shared a lot with us in your journey to get to your point now, where you are in life. Can you go back, Cheryl, and think of a moment where you were stuck and how you got out of that, how you got past that, how you unstuck?
Sure. I was married to my children's father for 21 years. And I'm not an advocate of divorce, but after 21 years of being stuck in a cycle of verbal, emotional, and mental abuse, I finally had to walk away. And I made that choice finally to walk away, but that wasn't, I was broken. And so having to figure out how to go beyond that spot is what eventually led me to where I am today. But I was stuck. He traveled, he worked for the government. So we moved around a lot. Mm-hmm. During the 21 years of being married, we lived in 6 states and we lived overseas. So every time we moved, I was hoping that it would change. I was hoping that my marriage would change and that my circumstances would change. But guess what, Steve? I always took me with me. And even though I was in a verbal, emotional, and mental abusive situation, I still took me with me. and I still took me with me in the responses how I had in my thoughts and what I chose. Okay. My place of life was different. My church family was different. My scenery was different, but it took me with me. And so until I finally realized.
And when you say, I just want to make sure you took the stuck you with you.
Yes.
Okay.
I took the stuck me with me.
But you know what? At the same time, moving is one of the most traumatic experiences next to divorce you could have. And you did that 6 times while being stuck. But I totally see what you saw, where it would be, oh, change of life. You know what? This will be the one. This will change it up. Same thing. Same reason why a lot of couples will have that other kid. It's just like, yeah, that it'll make it better because we'll have another child. And
Right.
it doesn't. It usually doesn't.
No, most of the times it doesn't. But I took the stuck Cheryl with me. And in every time it was, like I said, it was different, but it took me with me. And yes, I was in a broken marriage and I was in a situation that wasn't good, but I took my own choices, my own responses, my own actions with me. So I had to learn how to become unstuck. Finally walking away, this is something I haven't shared with you yet, is coming from the Amish background. My mom was Amish. I grew up as an Amish Mennonite girl with the hair covering on and the long dresses and no radio and no TV. And, a very plain lifestyle. I have cousins who are still Amish. And so walking away after 21 years, I knew I was going to get a lot of backlash, not from my parents, but from cousins and, extended family.
I have questions. This is just amazing. This is wow, different direction we went in. So when you entered that marriage, I would think it was a different lifestyle. Did you view it that way? That, okay, so I'm not in this life, the Amish side. Now I'm experiencing a different type of life. It feels different. It's happy. It's fulfilling until it changed. And then
yes,
you realize your stuckness.
Yeah. But see, my parents had left the Amish Mennonite Church or the Beachy Amish Church in the mid-70s. So by the time I married my children's dad, we were going to a non-denominational church. And so, we had left that lifestyle, but that was still part of me, part of who I am, even to this day. It's where some of my core beliefs come from. And so going into this marriage, I married an alcoholic, even though I didn't know he was an alcoholic. And I didn't realize I had never had alcohol in my home, growing up. That was never an option. So going into this marriage with blinders on, per se, and for 21 years, not knowing how to process through correctly in this was, an incredible place to be at. And so, yeah, just learning how to be unstuck. Yeah.
It's, we're going to go to a call, but we're going to get back to your story because that's, as somebody who is a Christian life coach and a certified mental health coach, where you are, how you dealt with it, pretty powerful stuff. We are going to go to, I believe, Atlanta, Georgia. Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hey, what's your name?
My name is Ann.
Hi, Ann. We have Cheryl here. Well, first of all, say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ann.
You have a question?
Yeah. My question is, how long are you typically in your client's life? And what type of steps would I take to get unstuck in my relationship?
How long am I typically in my client's life, and how long would it take to get unstuck in a relationship? So the first part of that question is, it depends on the individual and where we're going on the journey. Okay. So sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's could be 6 months, sometimes it's a year. I mean, it just depends on you, the client, and in what you want out of the coaching relationship. The second part of that question is, I don't know. I can't answer that question, honestly. I don't know where you are, Ann. I don't know the situation. I don't know your story. And so I cannot tell you how long it would take you to get unstuck in your relationship, unless I had a chance to sit down and talk to you and to just really converse with you and unpack some of your story, to hear your story so that we would know what direction to go in.
Oh, all right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in a relationship that you might not be super happy with. Is that what we're hearing?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many variables because length of the relationship could be one, strength of the person. Some people are stronger than others and can pivot in a second. Yeah, I'm done. I'm moving on to the next or whatever. And then there's others that hold on to things. And then, I'm not the therapist, I'm not the coach here, but you may have things from your past that you're carrying with you and might not even be aware of it. So yeah, lots to I love, as Cheryl puts it, unpack. You have to unpack that stuff that you're carrying with you. All right. And thank you very much for checking in.
All right. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So many variables. I think we, as a society, I call it the Amazon society, where one button, click, done. I want the answers and I want to move to the next stage, or get my delivery or whatever it might be. But there's so much involved in that. If you ask me in my journey 5 years ago, I would have a completely different answer than I would have right now. I totally feel I'm a different person in many regards. Why? Because of circumstances, having to deal with those, unsticking certain things, being forced to do that. Yeah, there's so many different variables, and everybody's different. Everybody's got a story, right?
Right. We all have a story. And so, having to unpack, like I said, the situation, the story, and getting down to the root of where she's stuck at in that relationship. I use the analogy a lot of times. If you do much gardening, or if you know what a thistle is, well, the flower on a thistle is really pretty. It's purple. It's really pretty. But the thistle itself is full of it hurts if you touch it with your hands. You can take that thistle and cut it off at ground level.
Right.
But that thistle comes back. So, and then the roots grow deeper. In order to get rid of the thistle, you have to cut out the roots of that thistle in the garden in order for it to not come back. And it's the same way in our own lives. If we don't cut out those roots of whatever that situation is in our own personal lives, those roots are just going to grow deeper, and they're going to be harder to cut out. So I'd rather get to the root cause of whatever it is that is causing us to be stuck in a relationship, in a job, in an addiction, whatever it is that we're stuck in. I'd like to get to the root cause of that, and then move out of that.
And one other thing comes to mind when I think of the thistle, it sticks to you because it's got so many different thorns on it, call it that it's almost like, I'm trying to get rid of this. And it's like the thing that you're trying to get unstuck from is stuck to you sometimes. In your story that you shared before Ann called in, with your background, growing up Amish, and you changed that, you moved away, your parents moved away from that lifestyle, and then you got married, and then you realized that you were in a stuck relationship. What was holding you back? Was it fear of making a change? You did say that, fear of your family and those maybe judging you, but what really held you back?
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear, shame, denial.
Was it more of that, or was it also a fear of the change, fear of the unknown? Now, I'm leaving a relationship, I've got kids, I'm moving, and all of that. Was it all of that put together?
It was all of that. I was a stay-at-home mom for most of my married life. I worked odd jobs, but I never really had a full-time job. I became a mom at the age of 19. So I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't go to college. I didn't have a career per se. How was I going to support myself? How was I going to support my 3 children? Fear of the unknown, fear of how is this going to look like? It came to a point where I finally said, I'm tired of being in fear. I'm tired of living in fear. I need out of this. And so I walked out. At that point, I was working for a chiropractor and I was giving massages. My mom bought my first massage table and my first set of sheets. And she said, Cheryl, you can do this. And so for 15 and a half years, God provided for me with giving massages. And I was good at it. I was really good at it. I enjoyed it. I traveled. I was in the Amish homes, which is really ironic. And I could really start talking Dutch to you right now. Nobody would understand, so I won't confuse people with that. But
wow.
So it was that fear of the unknown. It was the shame of walking out of a marriage. It was the label that was going to put on me.
I'm going to give you another word too. And maybe I'm off base here, but the guilt, like the guilt of making that change, in respect to your kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The whole package, it was all of those things wrapped up together, but I finally had to get unstuck. Now, like I said, I am not suggesting people get a divorce, but for me, that was where I was stuck at. And then if you want to further that, I was stuck in not knowing who I was. I was stuck in not knowing who I was in Christ. I was stuck in not liking myself. I was stuck in not thinking that I had anything to offer to anybody else. So I had to unpack the fear, the guilt, the shame, the not knowing who I was. I had to unpack all of that to get to the point where I realized that I don't have to be stuck in that broken cycle of abuse, in that broken cycle of shame, in that broken cycle of fear, and who I was. I do have something to offer, and I had to get out of that. And how did I do that? I went to Celebrate Recovery. I surrounded myself with safe people. I had a Christian counselor for over 4 years. But I made a conscious choice, and I chose to finally walk out of the abuse and the cycle of that I was living in, and for the betterment of my kids. Even though that might sound bad, but it was, my children needed to see a different mom than the angry mom. They needed to see a different mom than the mom that was just surviving. They needed to see a mom who could be all that God said she could be. And I couldn't do that in that place of being stuck.
Your story is unique, and it's also not in some regards, because a lot of women, a lot of people, men too, go through the same situation with some variables. And again, I'll say it again, I agree in marriage, you make it work because you made that commitment, unless there is abuse. And the reason I bring that up again is, was there a point where you thought that maybe counseling, because that's what you specialize in now, that might have helped your husband at some point, or it just got to the point where that we're past that, it'll never work?
We had tried.
Yeah. Okay.
We had tried it. And I'm not here to badmouth my children's dad in any way. I've moved beyond that. I've forgiven him. I not for the abuse, but forgiven him for his choices. I've moved beyond that. Matter of fact, just a side note, he was in my husband and my home last summer when he was here visiting the children, and he was here for lunch. Oh. We've moved beyond that. Was it awkward? Sure. But I believe in grace. And so we've moved beyond that. It's been since 2006 since that has happened, but it happened. But we had tried that, Steve. We had tried the counseling. We had tried marital counseling. We had tried pastoral counseling, and none of it worked. And why didn't either of it work? Because I was trying to fix him, and he
needs to fix him.
He needs to fix himself.
Right.
Yeah.
And needs to identify that he is who he is. And everybody's got something. So you could say that it's true of everyone. I don't want to say that we're all broken, but we have things that may need to get fixed so we can feel better about ourselves and then share that with other people in our relationships. Yeah, pretty powerful stuff today. Whoa. but real. And thank you for being very transparent and honest about your relationship, because it illustrates, being stuck. You feel for a lot of the same reasons you were stuck, a lot of us feel stuck, especially when it comes to the fear factor. Life change is powerful, but it's also fearful. And you know what? You said the word before, you said the F word. We probably could do an entire podcast on forgiveness and the power of it. And it's, you're not forgiving to condone, you're forgiving for you. And of course your children.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And that's not easy to do.
No, it's not. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard.
Yeah. I think we got a second left here, but I actually had hypnotherapy for forgiveness.
Okay.
And I didn't even know it existed. And I was talking to somebody and I thought they specialized in it. So sign me up. And it was just one of the things they do, but I thought they specialized in it. And even during the session got cut short. Technically, there was an issue, but so instead of 45 minutes, I think I was in there for like 30, but I feel I got enough from it to feel like I can forgive in my last relationship, for what somebody did, just like your husband, but, or go to counseling. There's another.
But you know what? Even as a Christian life coach, I'm going to take you through the process of forgiveness, and I'm going to teach you what forgiveness is. And it's not about allowing that other person to get off the hook, and it's not about saying that what that other person did was right. And it's not saying that you have to go back to the abuser. It's saying that for me personally, forgiveness no longer has control. Yeah. They no longer have control over me personally. Those people that have hurt me in my life, if I choose to forgive, the chains that they wrapped around me are gone.
Yeah.
And I'm no longer allowing them to rent space in my head.
Yeah.
It's a huge topic in itself.
Maybe another day. Because we're out of time.
Maybe another day.
If you haven't forgiven, you're probably stuck. Let's face it. That's probably one of the other reasons. Yeah. Give us your website, Cheryl.
insightlifecoaching.coachsolutions.cc. It's insightlifecoaching.coachsolutions.cc. And I can be reached at 574-501-3361.
Yeah, good topic today. It's something that we all deal with or dealt with or will deal with at some point. And there's a way out of being stuck. Like you said, I love the car stuck in the mud or the snow. There's somebody to help pull you through, and that is somebody like you. So definitely appreciate you being here today.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.